Good morning to you, our audience. Ted and Ed TV channel welcome each of you to our weekly Saturday broadcast where we give insightful views on economic, political, world, and environmental issues concerning how money connects those matters. Our hosts, Mr. Ted Harvey Sr. and Mr. Edward Bishop III, are now taking each of you into our world of money and its value, along with the evils that come from the greed of hoarding financial power. He that controls the gold controls the important decisions in this world.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ted and Ed's TV show. Welcome to the Money Connection. I'm hoping that how you doing, Ed, this morning, this afternoon, I should say, because we're on a special
this
time.
evening, Ted. This evening, it is almost 7:00,
Yeah.
and we missed last Saturday giving our telecast and stuff. So, with this special occasion coming up tomorrow, we decided to have telecast here today and tomorrow evening and stuff, and talk about a very important historical incident that happened 50 years ago. One of our great civil rights leader was assassinated, but we're doing this thing the day before because we want to talk about what he felt the day before he passed away and what the nation felt before he passed away. So anyway, we're going to get started here and talk about some things because there was, as I was talking to Ted earlier before we started the telecast, there was a lot of things going on in 1968. And man, I can remember way back then, man, being a 17, 18-year-old kid and stuff, what was, how this nation was. And then I looked to 50 years later, some of the same things that Dr. King was fighting for, we're still fighting for. There's still a lot of poor people. He had the Poor People's March. He came to the day before he had passed away. He made a trip from Atlanta. He flew on a plane to Memphis because there was a sanitation worker strike going on and stuff down in Memphis, and he came there to help them to see can he bring about the country and stuff to back up the sanitation workers who were being abused and stuff by the city of Memphis. They were not getting fair wages, and they were being treated awfully bad. And same thing is going on now, as you can look and see here. The teachers and stuff are striking and stuff now because their wages and stuff are awfully bad, and the school systems are in terrible shape. And it's not going on in these major blue states and stuff, and everything is happening and stuff in the red states. I was very surprised and stuff that the teachers in Kentucky and stuff, they're trying to go out on a strike, and the teachers in Oklahoma going out on a strike. Teachers in Arizona going out on a strike because they don't have monies and stuff and everything to educate our children. So some of the same things that happened 50 years ago are going on right now. Still happening. And there's even more poor people and stuff out there because of the policies and stuff that are going on and how people are being treated. And King fought and died for to bring an awareness and stuff about what was going on with poor people.
Well, you got to look at it like this, though. When I think about, because I think he was trying to set up that Poor People's March before he passed away, and which was going to be relative to economic power. Mm-hmm. However, back then, back in the middle 60s, late 60s, only had like 200 million people in this country. Now we got almost 350 million. You might say almost 400 million when you count the so-called undocumented people. So the thing is, when you say poor, relative to other countries in this world, we're doing great. A lot of the poor people are doing fairly well. Now, there are people that's going hungry. There are people that are living in a bad condition. We know that. And a lot of things that's happening. But I think when you look back when we were going to high school and going to college, it was really poured in because the fact is there were hardly no people that had money. Now there are people that are in the corporate world. They weren't hiring a lot of African American people. They weren't hiring a lot of Latino people. They weren't hiring a lot of different kinds of people outside the country. So um, what his death to me did was wake up people to start reading about him, to start studying what he was about. And as a as a as a person that believe in Christ, as a person that believe in God, you sort of kind of understand where he was coming from because, you know, this country is for to be everybody, for be supposed to be for everybody. And so therefore he was telling America they need to write a check. They need to be fair to all the people. And I think that's what that was all about. And when I learned about him, I studied him so much, and I almost wanted to learn his speeches by heart. So we'll see. I don't know. I think personally, I think that um, there are no more leaders. Not really.
Not
You
like
know.
him anyway. Not like
Yeah.
him anyway.
Yeah.
Because
The leaders are. Yeah.
he was a very special person that had the ability to uh, bring people's out and to get black folks to come out and to do things that you don't normally see folks do, and that is to be nonviolent. That is to be able to let someone beat you up and you don't do anything about it. All you do is pray for them. So he did some things and stuff that was very, very uncon- non-conforming and stuff back then, because there were a lot of people who didn't believe in letting themselves get beat up. They wanted to fight and arm themselves. You look at the Black Panthers and stuff. They were all about arming themselves and making sure they had the latest gun and rifles and stuff and everything to deal with it. But he brought the philosophy that he thought that nonviolence was going to be what's going to change people's mind. And I guess the same thing happened in South Africa also, and in India it happened where they used nonviolence and stuff and everything to defeat the enemy. So it did work in a way, and I guess you're right in a way that there are some changes and stuff that have been made and stuff nowadays from what happened when we were growing up. But there's still poor people and stuff here. There's still people who are working two jobs and they still can't take care of their families. Those the ones I'm talking about who are poor. These people are still poor, even though we're living in a rich country. They are still poor because if you have to work 16 hours just to be able to somewhat take care of your family and stuff, it's not right. Or you working 16 hours and your wife is working 16 hours, or your girlfriend's working 16 hours, or as a group, you're doing all that and you still can't make ends meet and stuff and everything, and you still poor. There are people who are working at Walmart and a lot of the other stores and stuff out there. They're working every day, but they're still poor. They can't feed their families. And
Well, I mean, that's capitalism for you. That's what capitalism is all about. We live in a capitalism society, and when you're young, you have to decide what kind of lifestyle you're going to live. In other words, you have to decide what do you want to do in life. And there are certain professions that pay very well. And if you look at the top 10 professions, and a lot of them require college degrees, master's degrees, doctorate degrees, but a lot of them don't. It's a vocation. You can be an electrician and earn over $100,000 a year. You can be a carpenter, same thing. Construction worker. Those are vocations of things, of skills, a welder. So the point is, when you say people are poor, because the statistics show us that there's 49 roughly 40 million people living below poverty in this
60.
country.
60.
Well, I read 40. You might be right. I don't know.
I did my research on that. There's 60 million people who are under the poverty level. I was listening to
That
a
live
speech.
under the poverty level.
Live on the poverty
Okay,
level.
'cause
I was listening to the Reverend what's his name? He's from North
Barbara,
Carolina.
Reverend Barbara.
Right, and he had a speech and stuff that he gave last year about the poverty and stuff, and I guess they're getting ready to have something in May, all the way until June and stuff to focus and stuff upon poor people and stuff in this country. And he said that there are over 60 million people who are below the poverty line in this country right now.
Now, just think about that. Now, the poverty line is based on one person, a couple, or children with children. So they can be making a certain amount of money. They might be making a household of, 30,000. That's still below poverty because they have two children. And on and break down, like if you're making, so they break it down. But the thing is that there are a lot of ways people can live. You can live in poverty. There's a lot of ways that, if a person does not have like addictions, you know what I'm saying? Like addictions to spending money shopping or drugs or alcohol or any kind of addictions, that person can get themselves out of poverty. If you're raised by a family that lived in poverty, you've read the stories. There's thousands, millions of people that was raised raised in poverty, but they rose themselves out of it. That's what's so good about living in America. You can get yourself out of it. But how do you get? That was the question. What do you do? Because right now people are saying, what we supposed to do? We supposed to take care of these 60 million people? These people with money. I'm talking about making the 200, 300, 400 million dollar salaries. That's what they're saying. What we supposed to do? We supposed to take care of these people, give them stuff. So that's the opposite of it. So, you know what they say. They're supposed to be believers. A lot of them supposed to be believing in God, and they say, the poor will always be with you. That's what they say. The poor is always to be with you.
They're going to be there. And as Jesus said, when he walked on this earth, you have to take care of his children. And if you look at those 60 million poor people and stuff out there, a huge majority of that number and stuff are children and old people.
Yeah.
A huge majority of them. And they can't take care of themselves. Those children and stuff, they don't have the means to take care of themselves. And when you're going to school and you're hungry, you can't learn. If you're going and your belly is empty, you can't learn. If you don't have a home to stay in, it's very difficult for you to learn when you're living on the streets or in your car or whatever. And there's a lot of people who are doing that. You look at your major cities and stuff right now. Los Angeles has a huge homeless problem and stuff there for people who are living on the streets. Chicago has a huge problem. Atlanta has a huge problem. I live right here and I drive on the viaducts almost every other week on the weekend, and you can see these little tent cities and stuff that are underneath there because people are living on the street because they're in poverty. And there are a lot of them there, and some of them aren't out there, so people get be able to see them. So I understand that they can get themselves out of it, but if you don't have the resources to do that, then it's a continual poverty thing that's continuing to go on all the time and stuff. And you and I and stuff, we didn't have a lot of money. Our parents wasn't rich, but like you said, we pulled ourselves up and everything and came out of that whole thing because we wanted to do better and stuff for ourselves because our parents and stuff drove us to do those things. So, but there are a lot of other parents and stuff who aren't doing that and stuff now. So because the parents don't take care of the children and don't provide them with the things they need or the incentive they need to get themselves out, what do we do? Do we just throw the kids and stuff away?
Well, that's what's been happening, to be honest with you, because what is that program for children when their parents leave them or they don't have parents?
Foster care.
Foster care. That's exactly. I mean, we're talking millions and millions of kids that are under foster care. Millions. And they spend billions of dollars taking care of these foster children. And I think personally, it's a moneymaker. For a lot of people, for the people who take care of these
foster care.
Yeah. And think about this. They spend billions of dollars for the veterans. $200 billion budget. Now you trying to tell me there's no waste there? They constantly building hospitals. Now I believe that the veterans should be taken care of, but I think a lot of it is being wasted. A lot of the money is being wasted. Then overinflated salaries, or maybe possibility or something. $200 billion. That's a lot of money. You know how many people they serve? 9 million. Now 9 million people is not going to the hospital every day. They might have of course they have people that's disabled, because of these recent unnecessary wars, but the bottom line is that's $200 billion. So they have no money. They spending $1 trillion for the military.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was getting at. That military budget, $1 trillion.
So that $200 billion so they have no money.
Drop in the bucket compared to that military budget that they're throwing away and spending $40 for a daggone boat that costs 10 cents in the drugstore or in the hardware store. So it's we have a nation here. We have a nation here that there's wealth and stuff here. An abundance of wealth, but you also have those greedy folks and stuff and everything who all they want to do is put their money in their pockets and everything, and don't care about other people.
They're skimming off the top because a lot of that money is not going to the military people.
It's not.
A lot of that it's not going to the military people. Because like the salaries of these soldiers are barely $35,000-$40,000.
Absolutely.
And after you've been in it for a while and you didn't came up in rank, you might be lucky enough to get up to 50,000. And your wife is working and stuff like that, and then you live in a halfway decent job. A lifestyle. But you still got to get up and go to work. In the service and do whatever you were trained to do. And then if they call you to service, to go fight somewhere, then that's another story that children have to be and the wife had to put up with.
What would Dr. King say right now? He would have, if he had lived, he would have been 89 years old today.
Yeah, it's still a relatively, that's
what do you think he would have said? You said you studied him a lot. What do you think that he would have said about what's going on and stuff right now?
Well, it's kind of hard to say.
You studied him now.
I read a lot of books about him, but what I'm saying is, number one, in the 80s and I would say even some parts of the 90s, there was a spiritual revival on a whole different trend of religion. Because we were moving, a lot of African American people and even Caucasian people were moving up. We were moving up to a different level. Everybody was going into education, getting their masters and what have you. So we was in a whole different thing because opportunities was opening up for people. So now what he would be doing the same thing with what because see, we can't look at like if he was still living, then he would be still involved, but he's not. But what he would do today is what Reverend Barber is doing.
I was asking for an hypothesis from you,
But it's hard for you to do.
I know it's hard for you to do that, but it can. This would just be
because you got to look at all the other circumstances.
Well, I'm pretty sure that he and Reverend Barber would probably be friends and stuff and everything because Reverend Barber is out there trying to keep going what he started. Dealing with poor people, or trying to help folks, trying to get people out there to vote because that's what was going on back in the 65, 68, trying to get passing the Civil Rights Act and stuff back then in 1965 And Dr. King was very instrumental and stuff in doing that. He was very instrumental in trying to get people to go out and vote, because they were trying to register people here in the South and everything to go out and vote and use their ability and stuff to put people in office and stuff who were going to do some things and stuff to help them. So Reverend Barber doing the same thing now. You know, they are the country and stuff now. The people who are in power, they are trying to take the votes and stuff away that we attained in the civil rights era. Because as you notice and stuff, the Voting Rights Act and stuff now has not been enacted since what 2008 and stuff. It fell apart, and they have not reenacted the Voting Rights Act. It's just sitting there and stuff there in Congress and stuff, and sitting there dormant. And we need that legislation and stuff and everything to continue, because there are states and stuff that who are taking people's rights away to vote because they still want to stay in power. So it's man,
politically, you know, when you think about, I think that the biggest thing right now that I think that he would probably, in my mind, he would gather a lot of powerful lawyers. You know, and really try to fight this thing as far as all of these judges coming into play. And I think he would definitely be fighting for those types of things, as far as just like what you just said, reenact, continue to doing that and improving, voting rights and that type of thing. Because right now, look what they're getting ready to do in the census in 2020. They're gonna come to your house and ask you, are you a U.S. citizen? And it's going to be on the application.
Well, they're proposing to do that, but if you looked in the news and stuff now, there has been, I think, 23 states and stuff who have filed a lawsuit against the federal government for doing that, along with the District of Columbia. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen and stuff there, because we still got about 2 more years and stuff before the census and stuff starts and everything. But I know they do start earlier than 2020. They're probably going to start sometime in 2019. So they don't have very long. They don't have very long to stop them from taking that question out of the questionnaire.
Right. But to think about this though, just to put that out there is amazing. Because the fact is that there are certain people in the country that are U.S. citizens, but they don't want to be involved in that, because the fact is that they might be scared that their family, some of them might be undocumented. And so they, therefore, hey, if I put down here whatever and fill this information out, then they're going to know where I live. They're going to know all the situation in my family, and that type of thing. And then there you go. People come in.
And that's true. And that's true. They are. They will be afraid. That is true. And
so they already put it out there.
But
therefore,
but I'm pretty sure that if they can get them to remove that question from the questionnaire and stuff, that there might be still some people and stuff who want to run away from the census, because when we were growing up, we lived a lot of people and stuff lived in the projects and stuff. When the census man came in and do a census, and most of the people inside the project and stuff, I don't want to put my name over there on the census, and you see that all the time. I look at our voting and stuff going on. I remember walking down the streets and stuff of Jacksonville, Florida, in 2012, trying to get people to come out and vote for Obama. And there were people and stuff there who I had to sit there and talk to them and say, hey, man, we fought and died so you guys can go out here and vote. And they would sit up there in the corner and say, I don't want to vote. They have no power in voting. And I looked at their mother and stuff, who was their older lady and stuff. She was on Social Security. I said, if you don't go out there and vote, those people are going to take your mother's Social Security. Now, do you want that to happen? So some of them came out there and voted. Other ones looked at me and said, "Oh, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that." So we have a lot of apathy also and stuff, Ted, and stuff in our country, even without those rules and regulations that the Republicans are trying to enact and stuff to just to stop people from voting. So it's man, I hate that apathy and stuff here in our country, in our
And we know
community.
what if you don't vote, then what happens is that whatever party that you belong to, then it's not going to be as powerful, because
Absolutely.
each one of those districts that you're in, then that represents, as far as how much money that you're going to get in that area,
For
what representative is going to get
for
elected.
10 years that affects you, Ted. For
Yeah,
10
and that's
years.
10 budgets.
Yeah. For
That's
10
a lot of
whole
money.
years.
Yeah,
You're being affected by what you didn't do 10 years before that.
that's
It
right.
is, man, and to get our people to realize that, I don't know what's going to happen. But I think that's one of the things and stuff that Reverend Barber is trying to do and stuff, and may do that. I forget what the heck he calls it and stuff, but there's some kind of renaissance that's coming up, he said, and he's trying to get people out there and revive them to come out and start voting and doing what they need to do and put their representatives in office, starting from your local government all the way through your state government and to the federal government.
Yeah. I just don't understand why. Well, let's put it like this: there are so many organizations that are out there that are registering people
to
vote, and the motivation is not there to get out there and do your due diligence as an American citizen and for your community. And I have no idea why, because you think about it, what was the percentage that even voted in the presidential election?
Well,
Do you know?
there were some very minute numbers and stuff there in those major states and stuff. Reverend Barber, in one of his speeches and stuff, he says that Hillary lost Wisconsin by 20,000 votes. 20,000 votes.
That's
He
ridiculous.
lost Michigan by a little less than 15,000 votes. And there in Wisconsin, they gerrymandered, and they made sure that and doing voter fraud and whatever they tried to do to stop voters to go out and vote. There were 250,000 voters and stuff there in Milwaukee who were being disenfranchised, who could not vote and stuff and everything for whatever reason or another. 250,000. If half of them had a chance to go out there and vote, Hillary would have won Wisconsin. You have Detroit and stuff who was sitting there, a major city there, in Flint and stuff. There were people and stuff there in those enclaves and stuff who didn't get a chance to go out and vote and everything and stuff for him. Less than 15,000 votes and stuff. He won Michigan. She had won Wisconsin and Michigan, it'd have been all over. There'd been another person there in the White House, first woman.
That's crazy. That is absolutely insane.
It is. It's sickening to hear those numbers.
Yeah,
it's sickening. And you look at Ohio, the same thing happened in Ohio. Cuyahoga County didn't come out and vote, and people stayed at home.
Wow.
She won Ohio. They didn't come out and vote in Cuyahoga County. You know what Cuyahoga County is, don't you? Cleveland.
No, Cleveland. Oh,
Cleveland.
Okay.
That's Cuyahoga County, but it's Cleveland. You get them people in Cleveland, they can override everybody in the state of Ohio. They can all, and if Cleveland comes out and do their voting and everything, they can almost win any election. There's that many people there in that county.
Wow. Well,
so it's just something else, man. And you're right. How do we motivate people to tell them you need to get out and vote?
Yeah, I mean, what does it take? A couple of hours, if that,
Less than that.
Yeah, less than that. I mean, because usually I go straight to the main office and vote before it's time to vote, and I'm
Right.
done with it.
You're early voting, and that's what we can't get people to do and stuff. They at least 3 months before the actual election is early voting. You can early vote easier than you can if you can go to the polls and stuff on election day.
Yeah, and I can understand young people not voting because I was one of those people because I didn't believe in the system either. After you read all this, but once you learn and and you take a few political sciences classes, you learn about the politics, you take civil things like that, and you learn, and you say, hey, this is important. And then on top of that, African Americans, people died to vote. People died. I mean, they got beat up. They
Shot,
went through
huh?
humiliation. I mean, they went through humiliation, asking them how many beans are in this jar, and all kind of stupid stuff. You missed it by 10.
Yeah. So, but I think our memory and stuff are very, very short. Almost like I really believe what Winston Churchill used to say: the further you can look back, the further you can look forward. So all they had to do was just look back, and they can see and stuff. Hey, there was a lot of stuff going on back then. As we're getting ready for this telecast that we're doing right here, man, I was writing some things down, and I'm looking back, and I have forgotten a lot of the things that happened and stuff back then. A lot of things and stuff. When you start talking about SNCC, and I said, man, how did SNCC come about? I forgot how they came about. And I had to go back and read, man, the SNCC was an offshoot of the SCLC.
Yep.
I said, what? Wait a minute. I didn't know that.
For the young people. That was for the younger people.
That was for the people in college. They were trying to get people in colleges and stuff there in North Carolina, and they formed an organization called STIC, Student Nonviolent Conference Committee or whatever. And they were one of the executive directors and stuff of the SCLC, a lady named Wilson, went out and started this organization and stuff there in these colleges to get college kids to become active and stuff and everything in the civil rights movement.
But you got to look at it like this. And I think Georgia, pretty much Atlanta, ATL as they call it, progressed.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened to Alabama and Mississippi? Louisiana. When I think about Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and I guess those are the three states right there in the South that were really tough on. Even Georgia was tough, but I mean, for some reason, Georgia overcame a lot of things, as far as that goes. But Louisiana is horrible. We see what happened when they had that hurricane down there and how they were treated. Mississippi, man, they say it's probably more black people that live in Mississippi than white folks, ain't it?
Yep, absolutely.
and yet still they don't even have any major offices.
No, they don't.
Because people don't want to go out there and vote. And then,
yeah,
and people are not ready for office.
Well, just like we found out and stuff, and I hear people talking about, we got more black people. You can have more black representatives coming out of these 13 states here in the South than you can any place else. But there are the people and stuff here, especially the people of color and stuff, have been beat down and disenfranchised and stuff that they can't get out there and vote or don't want to go out there and vote. But I think that the Democratic Party or people of independent thinking and stuff and everything have missed the boat and stuff when it comes to getting into Mississippi and to Alabama and South Carolina and getting those folks and stuff out to vote. They have thrown them away in essence and stuff and everything because they say, oh, they're not going to do anything anyway down there. We can't get them to vote. So when you take something and you throw it away, you can't get anything and stuff from it. They did. They just throw these states away.
They just say, okay, we know we're gonna get so many votes anyway. You know, we might not win it, but we're gonna get so many votes. But we depended on New York and we depended on
California to bring them through.
That's it.
And hopefully get a couple of other states like Pennsylvania and maybe Virginia or Ohio or something like that and everything, and we can pull in right in. We can be able to do this whole thing. So
instead of doing doing the whole thing, you know, in other words, they're lazy. You get into when you
they
get
are
into,
because they look at it and stuff and saying it takes money to do that. It didn't take Dr. King a lot of money to get these people out there in the streets and everything to do nonviolent. He didn't have a whole lot of money to do that. He did one thing that I think that a lot of the independents and stuff are missing, and a lot of Democrats are missing and stuff right now. Change came from the church.
There you go. That's right.
You ride down any of these off streets from the interstate and off highways that have down here in the South and through Alabama and Mississippi. I did it. I went down through there. Ted, on every 2 or 3 mile marker, there's a church.
Oh yeah.
There's a church, man. Me and my wife, we were heading down from Birmingham to New Orleans, and we went through some side roads and everything to get down there. And I'm telling you, man, I'm driving as a church. Drive 4 or 5 mile church, 4 or 5 more mile church.
Yeah. That's right.
There are churches everywhere, man. They got a lot of taverns, but they got a whole lot of churches down here.
And the thing about it, that you use that church as a community center to get the people, not only the church people, but then you get the community involved. Those people that don't go to church.
Absolutely.
And that's how you really recruit and get people registered and try to convince them to go out and vote.
Absolutely.
So, and that takes a lot of work.
It doesn't take a lot of work, Ted.
But what I'm saying is that
not a lot of money either.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that you got to want to do it, and they don't want to do it. They want to send a letter and say, vote for so and so, or send a card, and that's it. But they don't want to go out and touch the people. You got to go out and touch the people.
You got to touch them.
I heard today. I was watching this program on what's the name of the program? I can't think of the name of the program, but it was a program, and it was actually about journalism. Back in the 50 years ago, and how journalism was being portrayed, and then they have a lot of people of color in those positions to cover the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had 2 younger people that were barely born during that time, and they were talking about Glenn Eiffel. You remember Glenn Eiffel?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was a prominent journalist.
Yeah, she was.
She
was a commentator for PBS. Yeah,
right.
And she passed away. Yes.
Yeah, she just passed away a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is that they had mentioned her, and she went out to go cover the St. Louis story. You remember what was going on in St. Louis with Michael Brown and all that?
Right.
They sent her out there to cover it. And so, all the big shots and everything was all around her and everything. But she said before she had a conversation with them, she went to the community. She went to the churches.
Mm-hmm.
And she rubbed on, she started talking to all the people in the community. She started walking the street and started talking to people to feel what the people was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went and started talking to the mayors and all of them type of people.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, you have a journalist that's showing really the politicians how to do it. You go out and you talk to the people,
mm-hmm.
and you got to rub shoulders with them. You got to you got to eat, whatever it is, fast food or whatever, to get to know them, to see what their thoughts are and what their feelings are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think, if I was in that business, if I had been doing that business for all my life, that's exactly what I would be doing. You go out there and you talk to the people.
Absolutely.
And they're not doing it.
That's the
They're
only
not
way
doing
that you can find out what's going on in the community. You go
it.
into
Yeah,
the church and they're going to tell you where your vote's at. They're going to tell you who's going to vote for you, who's not going to vote for you. They're going to tell you a lot of things and stuff. Plus, Ted, the opportunity that are inside these churches and stuff is just it's enormous. Most of the people there in the church have no idea what's going on outside their community. None whatsoever. The only thing they're dealing with and stuff is right there in that little 4 or 5 square miles. And all they do is go out and work every day. And on Sunday, they're going to dress up and they go into that church
that's
there
right.
and they're going to worship the Lord and holler and scream or whatever they do or whatever religion that they're in. And then they're going to get themselves together and gather up and they're going to go back to their homes and stuff and get ready for the Monday morning, going back out there and rush out there and working wherever they're working at, whether it's in the chicken farm or whatever, because there's a lot of chicken farms down here, where there's a lot of farms and stuff down here, or some furniture plant that they work at, and that's where they're going to and everything. And then on Friday and Saturday, some of them are going to go out there and do a little juking and drinking or whatever, but they're going to be at that church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And that's where you touch them.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. And I don't, what to do about it. I have no idea, because you got a lot of people that's out there trying to do things and going out there and registering, but it's just such a small scale. And then you got this so-called DNC that
you said so-called DNC.
That's what they are, so-called, man, because they're not. Only thing they want to do is ask for some money, but then see them out there. Knock on the doors. They don't knock on doors, and talk to people and find out what the issues are. Because, here we are right now. Gerrymandering. They're going to rule on that in the next couple of months. They're talking about it now, but did you see? I was listening to that. I had to turn it off, man, because it was just so ridiculous.
What's that?
In Wisconsin, the governor there,
right, he said that he wasn't going to have an election.
Right. Yeah. So,
but he's got it now. They went to court, and the state Supreme Court told him that he better hold an election. So he's holding it now I think in June.
But here's the thing, though. The gerrymandering is so bad in Wisconsin. They got 52% of the people that are registered Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
The gerrymandering is so bad that they, out of so many districts, I think it was like 50-something districts that they have. But the point is that they control over 39 of the 52.
Mm-hmm.
They have gerrymandered those things so bad that is just ridiculous, because they cover all of that area, the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not giving the opportunity to the rest of the states to elect an official.
Absolutely.
So, and that's why you got all these Republicans now. And the Republicans have gerrymandered everything, all 50 states in this country.
Most, not all of them, but most of them. Most of the important ones that they have. Those red states they got. You're talking about Texas. You're talking about Louisiana. You're talking about North Carolina, because North Carolina is very progressive. So they gerrymandered that one because they're very progressive. They tried to do that in Virginia, but they got stopped from doing that. But the rest of the states, like South Carolina, they got it under control. They got Florida under control. They got Georgia under control. They have Mississippi under control. They got Tennessee pretty much under control.
And what is the DNC doing?
Well, the DNC, like we just talked about, they are not becoming active and stuff in these states and stuff that they realize that they're not going to win. They're saying to themselves, well, we ain't going to win that, so we're going to go and try to win in these other states and spend our money and our time building up something in these other states, and forget about these other states and stuff down here. We just leave them alone. And if you look at those 13 states coming from Texas all the way over there up into North Carolina or whatever, and back over into Kentucky and West Virginia and all those places and stuff and everything that are Republican strongholds and stuff right now, you have, if you're talking about your general election, there are 190 electoral college votes and stuff in those states.
Mm.
And we have given them away.
Yep. They're not even hustling.
They're not even hustling because they got New York and California. They're not hustling.
They're not hustling.
They're not hustling.
And then you wonder why nobody want to help you, because I know I'm not going to give you a dime if I don't see you hustling.
I ain't giving nobody a dime, Ted. Every time I see an ad in there for whoever it is, I know they begging for money. I delete them off my email. Boop, delete. That's all I do. I delete emails all day because they begging.
Yeah, they're begging. I mean, you got all of these students that's out there would be willing to volunteer. Absolutely. Or if you gave them some stipend,
absolutely,
while they're in college, I don't care if it's a couple of $100 a month, $50 a week or whatever, and you say, okay, I need you to put at least 3 hours a week or 4 hours a week into this, and you get your stipends of $200, $300 a month. Mm-hmm. That's just like working in work study. When you're in college, people have work study, and
But if you motivate them enough, Ted, they will come out. If they have a cause, kids and stuff who are in college, they volunteer, man. If you got a cause, they're going to volunteer. They're going to come out and volunteer for a good cause. I watched them do that in 2007 and 2008 in South Carolina before the primary happened there. Obama had these kids coming out of these colleges that's up there on the East Coast, driving down into the state of South Carolina and knocking on doors for him. These kids were donating their time, Ted. They were coming down in carloads. They would bundle up 5 or 6 of them, get in the car and stuff and drive down. All they had was a room for them to stay. That's it. They had a room to stay in. And they stayed in these rooms and stuff, and they made sure they fed them and stuff, and they went out, knocked on doors and stuff in the evening time. They let them go out and have fun, enjoy themselves and everything, and come Sunday, they head back to college. And they enjoyed it. They didn't give them a dime.
What's the problem?
That's what I'm saying to them. What is the problem? You got a lot of colleges and stuff here in the South. You got these black schools and stuff and everything. They would come out. You got universities and stuff down there. University of Alabama, Auburn. You got Michigan State, Mississippi State, I'm sorry. And you got a lot of them there on colleges and stuff. Ole Miss. These kids will come out, man, and they will volunteer to knock on doors and stuff for you. All you got to do is get them motivated to come out and do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't understand why there are not people that's out there. Now you have what's his name? He's the assistant to the actual person that's in charge. I'm trying to think of his name. He's a congressman in Minnesota.
Keith Ellison.
Keith Ellison. Now, to me, he should have been the person that was over the DNC. He should have been the chairman.
The money stopped that, Ted. The Jews stopped that. The Jewish money, that Jewish money stopped that.
Now they stopped it. They stopped
the banks, the Jewish bankers and stuff stopped him from winning that election because he had a real good chance of winning that thing because there was a lot of people out there who wanted him to win it, and but they had some asinine Jews and stuff and everything that said we ain't gonna have him because he's a Muslim, and they don't want no Muslims around. So behind the scenes, they use their money and stuff and everything to force these people and stuff to put this other guy in charge.
Well, money is the milk of politics.
Money is in politics, and and what you do in your leadership is judged by the amount of money that you in command of. You look at Nancy Pelosi and stuff, and Paul Ryan and stuff. They have a campaign war chest that they have, and they are prolific. People go out there to get money, to get donors, to bring money and put into their coffers. So they, because of the money they are in command of, they're very, very powerful people and stuff out there. You got Mitch McConnell. He has a huge war chest, man. The Senate Majority Leader, huge war chest. He's probably in control of pretty close to maybe 100, $200 million right now that he can have in his possession if he wants it. All you got to do is call up, make a few calls, and that money is sitting there in their bank.
You know, I heard Martin Luther King even speak on that regarding money and politics. Even back then, he was talking about it. And the sad part about it is that there's nothing, and this is the reason why, like you said, Reverend Barber and everything, the growth of people living in poverty is just growing and continually to grow. This is why, there are so many homeless, even though, to my understanding, former President Obama, he cut it in half. He cut the veterans homelessness in half. I know that. And he cut a lot of things in half. He cut the homeless down. He increased the graduation rate from high school. More people were going to college. He decreased the pregnancy rate. All kinds of things that he had been doing to help everybody. A lot of things that he had did. And the thing is that as long as you have people of color, because see, they've already put the numbers out there. So what is going on? They saying that in 2040 something or whatever it is, that the minority is going to be the majority.
Well, it was supposed to have happened in 2016, but it didn't. Right now, the numbers are there. Ted, the numbers are there. It's just that we have to get them out to vote. That is it. We have the numbers to put whoever we want into office. The numbers are there. We just have to get these people and stuff out there and get them off their behind and go to that election thing there and pull that lever. That's all we have to do. And we can take care of all those Republicans out there who are trying to hold on to that majority. You can take care of them. It can happen. So 2018 is a very, 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 very important election and stuff. It's going to see how strong we are going to be. And I know that there are some people out there who are gearing up and everything for it. And Reverend Barber is one of them. He is walking the streets. He's going to different cities and stuff and everything and trying to mobilize people to come out and to start doing something, to energize them starting in the summer, to get them ready to go to those polls and stuff in November 2018 and start putting people in office who are going to enact policies and stuff and everything that are friendly to the middle class and to the poor, and to get them into healthcare. We have a healthcare system out there, Ted, that is just out of sight. It is just horrible what it looks like. But we have to be able to, because if we don't, our infant mortality rate has gone up now because policies and stuff with Republicans and stuff saying that they're going to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Well, if you getting rid of health care, then the mothers and stuff and everything can't get prenatal care. They can't go see the doctor. You're trying to get rid of Planned Parenthood and stuff and defund them. It took them all the way from September of last year to March or February of this year to program, the Children's Health Program. So you're talking about about 5 months and stuff that these kids and stuff and everything healthcare program was just on tilting around there. And there were a lot of states and stuff who were telling the kids that we can't afford to put your child and stuff in a healthcare program, insurance program. So the kid gets sick and he can't get his medication, he's going to die. it's just horrible, Ted. That's what's going on out there. Tomorrow, I guess we're going to talk about what's going on in these nursing homes and stuff. My wife and I were talking about that and everything. Man, the people that are on the end of that spectrum, Ted, they are being devastated. Our children and our old people, they're being devastated. And I'm telling you, man, these old people, man, are dying off like that, and nobody's doing anything about it. And the only reason why I know about it and stuff because I have someone there who was in the nursing home. My mother-in-law is in the nursing home, and my wife is telling me about stuff every time she comes home from seeing her mother, and she go into a nursing home. Somebody dead. They
Well,
died.
see, here's the thing: is though it's just like what when Martin Luther King said, as far as how he used to, they showed how he used the media to publicize or to get the word out, and he had to do something sensational in order to get attention to the national and even the local media, because people wouldn't even cover it. And that's just like when the same thing is happening in people that's going out, that's having problems, and they'll pick somebody. Oh, this person was bad, a bad facility for elderly, and they shut them down. And then next thing you know, they're back up in business somewhere down the road. But the point is, it's not that is not the issue. The issue is that they're not taking care of the elderly like they should, and they're not taking care of the children like they should, the education and all of that. So, but the point is, nobody's really writing about it and putting it out there. And
It's so easy, Ted, to see an older person and they die.
yeah,
So there's no autopsy.
nope.
Nobody is doing an autopsy to find out. Man, these nursing homes and all these other facilities, man, are starving these old people to death.
And I don't even want to know about what's going on in the foster care.
It's horrible. It's horrible. We see even when we were growing up, man. I used to see these foster care homes, man. These parents, we bring me. I'm gonna get as many foster kids as I can and get as much money as I can. They don't feed them. They don't clothe them. You don't feed a child and you don't clothe a child, they're not gonna do anything. They're gonna waste away. Same thing with an older person. You don't feed an older person, they're gonna fade away. Ted, if you got diabetes and all they're feeding you every day is potatoes, grits, anything, bread, sandwiches, all that stuff with high starch content in it, what's going to happen to you?
Yeah. You're gonna get sick.
You running their sugar levels so far out of whack. It's a crying shame because they're full of starch. You're gonna kill them. They almost killed my mother-in-law, man. I got a picture of her, man. She left in the daggone bed, man. Looked like she almost dead because these people are feeding her starch and sugar every meal. There's no vegetables there. And she almost went into a coma. I'm telling you, it's horrible. I'm telling you, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible, man. We can end this folks, because we're just about at the end of our program here. You don't want to get me started on this.
Well, we're going to get you started tomorrow.
We're going to get you started tomorrow, man, because I got some stories to tell you and our audience stuff out there to what's going on, how we are dealing with our children and our old people and everything, something that Dr. Martin Luther King aboard. He believed in Jesus walking this earth. You take care of those children and you take care of your older people. Yeah. And a society that doesn't take care of their children and their older people are doomed to failure. I don't care how much money you got.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you all tomorrow.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Right.
I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of